Hello, friends. How are you all? It's a great pleasure once again to be here with everyone as we are learning English to speak English and also the vocabulary and the pronunciation. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening in the different parts of the world. We are talking about vitalizing the talk. Remember, last time we decided and we had learned that we have to speak confidently and also we must have the earnestness, the belief, and we should also speak the topic energetically. Okay? So, as we proceed further, let us try to understand vitalizing the talk. Almost all speakers wonder whether the topic they have chosen will interest the audience, isn't it? Everybody thinks about it that will the topic interest the audience? There is only one way to make sure that they will be interested. Stoke the fires of your enthusiasm for the subject, and you will have no difficulty holding the interest of a group of people. So, my dear friends, remember that we have to stoke the fires of our enthusiasm for the subject, and we will have no difficulty holding the interest of a group of people. A short time ago, I heard a man in one of our classes in Baltimore warn his audience that if the present methods of catching rock fish in Chesapeake Bay were continued, the species would become extinct, right? Bay were continued, the species would become extinct. And in a very few years, he felt his subject. It was important. Yes, the subject was very, very important, and attention was required to be paid to it. He was in real earnest. He was in real earnest about it. Everything about his matter and manner showed that. When he arose to speak, I did not know that there was such a creature as a rockfish in Chesapeake Bay. I imagine that more of the audience shared my lack of knowledge of us and would probably have been willing to sign a petition to the legislature to protect the rockfish by law. Richard Washburn Child, the former American ambassador to Italy, was once asked the secret. Yes, he was asked the secret of success. An interesting writer. He replied, I am so excited about life that I cannot keep still. I just have to tell people about it. One cannot keep from being enthralled with a speaker or writer like that. Yes, my dear friends, be interested in your subject, whatever you're going to speak, and also express yourself beautifully. And you will see as we read over here and as we listen that we have to be interested in our subject, what we are going to speak, and we have to be enthralled with whatever we are going to speak. And definitely the audience will love it. I once went to hear a speaker in London after he was through one of our party, and M.F.E.F. Benson, a well-known English novelist, Mr. E.F. Benson, a well-known English novelist, remarked that he enjoyed the last part of the talk far more than the first. When I asked him why, he replied, the speaker himself seemed more interested in the last part, and I always rely on the speakers to supply the enthusiasm and interest. So, this is an important point. Mark it, you can write it also, that the word is the speaker himself seemed more interested in the last part, and I always rely on speaker to supply the enthusiasm and the interest. Here is another illustration of the importance of choosing your topics well. A gentleman whom we shall call Mr. Flynn was enrolled in one of our classes in Washington, D.C. One evening, early in the course, he devoted his talk to a description of the capital city of United States. He had hastily and superficially gleaned his facts from a booklet issued by local newspaper. They sounded like it, dry, discontented, undigested. Though he had lived in Washington for many years, he did not present one personal instance of why he liked the city. He merely recited a series of dull facts, and his talk was as distressing for the class to hear as it was agonizing for him to give. So, here we see, my dear friends, that when we are speaking about a particular city, for example, Washington, we have to speak about the subject, we have to speak about the place, for example, Washington. As we see here, the mistake of the speaker was he was talking of something which was already been written from a booklet he was reading, but it had nothing to speak about Washington. So he himself was distressed, and we see the audience also. It was an agonizing moment for them. Yes, a fortnight later, something happened that touched Mr. Flynn to the core. Yes, as Mr. Flynn, we see an unknown driver had smashed into his new car while it was parked on the street and had driven away without identifying himself. It was impossible for Mr. Flynn to collect insurance, and he had to foot the bill himself. Here was something that came hot out of his experience, his talk about the city of Washington, which he laboriously pulled out sentence by sentence, was painful to him and his audience. But when he spoke about his smashed up car, his talk welled up and boiled forth like Vesuvius in action. The same class that had squirmed restlessly in their seats 2 weeks before now greeted Mr. Flynn with a heartwarming burst of applause. Isn't it a beautiful thing? So, here we see, friends, that we have to express the topic that we are speaking. Always remember, today we have studied an important point that we have to be interested in our subject, we have to be enthralled, and also we have to be excited about our subject. Yes, and we see that one cannot keep from being enthralled with a speaker or writer like that. Yes, the second point is the speaker himself he seems to be more interested in the last part, as we see that the speaker has to supply the enthusiasm and interest in his subject. So we will stop over here today, and it was great pleasure being there with you all. We will be there again tomorrow. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Never give up. Okay? Love you all. Bye.